In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to get your first handstand push-up. So let's talk about the requirements. First of all, you need to be comfortable holding the handstand itself. So the minimum requirement is to be able to hold 30 seconds handstand consistently. So that means being able to hold 30-second handstand for about 2 to 3 sets in a single session within a short amount of time, because you know then you'll be able to hold the handstand. So let's start off with the first progression. This is the most simple one, which is called the Pike push-up. Now, what this is going to do is going to help you to build up the strength while also helping you to understand the motion path of the handstand push-up. To get into the exercise, you get into a push-up position and then walk your feet close towards your hands until you're in an inverted V shape. Now we're going to push through our shoulders, so we're going to tuck our ears in between our shoulders, and when initiating a movement, we're going to bend our elbows and bring our head close towards the ground and stop until a point where our nose touches the ground. And then we're going to drive through your palm to push back up and tuck your ears in between your shoulders at the top. And you want to think about doing this overhead flexion motion to really increase the range of motion. So this is what a good form looks like, where you come all the way down, keeping your elbows tucked in close to your torso, nose touches the ground, push back up, tuck your ears in between your shoulders. Now, I'm going to show you what a bad form looks like. So get into V shape, head is poking out, and you're coming down more of a flat curve. And then when pushing back up, you're treating it like a normal push-up rather than pushing diagonally back up. So we want to avoid this at all costs. Why? Because we want that extra range of motion. So tucking your ears in between your shoulders at the top. And this is very, very important. So the rep range for this is between 5 to 10 reps for 3 sets. And this is the very first progression. Now, for the most of us, what really hinders us back from being able to do the Pike push-up with correct form is the lack of hamstring mobility. So a great hack for this is to bend your knees slightly to accommodate for the lack of flexibility. And this will allow us to easily and comfortably get down into the Pike push-up and perform the amount of repetitions that's required, and then build the shoulder strength from there onwards. So work on your hamstrings as well, because flexibility is also key in recovery, in your performance. So you're not only going to build strength, but also work on your flexibility too. Moving on to the next progression is the feet elevated Pike push-up. This is harder because now you're going to be placing your feet on an elevated platform, such as a bench or a chair or a stool. And what this is going to do is going to push our hips much more forward, so that way our hips is actually stacked on top of our shoulders and wrists. So to make this more simple, I'm going to show you. So placing my feet on an elevated surface, and I'm going to walk my hands back towards the surface until my hips is stacked on top of my shoulders and wrists. I'm going to then push through my shoulders, squeezing my core and also keeping my legs straight. The movement path is exactly the same. So bend the elbows, lower down until the nose touches the ground, and then push back up, tucking your ears in between your shoulder blades. Again, this is very important, and this is what a good form looks like. So we're going to keep repeating this and really squeezing your core. And again, if your hamstrings flexibility is not quite there yet, you can bend your knees slightly just to accommodate for that. Again, what does the bad form look like? Well, a lot of people treat it more like a normal push-up, where they'll come down with their body a little bit more of a flat slope. So we want to remove this from the equation. Think about going up in a diagonal position in a more steeper slope rather than coming down more of a flatter curve. Okay? So don't do this where you keep your ears tucked out, come down flat like a push-up. All right? So do it with full range of motion. And we're going to do this between 5 to 10 reps for 3 sets. Once that becomes too easy, you're able to then move on to the next progression, which is the floating Pike push-up. What this is going to do is exactly the same as Pike push-up, but as we get to the bottom position, we're going to push off with our toes. Push off with our toes, so that way you're forced to find that balance for a brief second. So to get into it, let's get into the Pike push-up position. And then we're going to bend our elbows down and dropping our nose close to the ground. And as we bend our elbows, we're going to push off with our toes, so then that way our hips is going to travel forward a little bit, a few inches, and your body is going to float. Make sure you try to find this floating feeling, and as we come down, we want to shift our weight to the bottom part of our palm, so that way you're able to counterbalance by stopping ourselves from falling back down too far. So as we come down, shift the weight to the palm, try to float, suck your core in towards the back of your belly button, so this is your spine, and then really try to find that float. So the rep range for this will be 5 to 8 reps for 3 sets. And this exercise will take some practicing, so don't expect it to be perfect in the first attempt. It will take a few weeks, and you'll really know when you got it once you actually feel that floating feeling. Moving on to the next progression is the wall handstand push-up. Well, this one you can actually do it right from the start, but I'm going to put it towards the end because it's not as important as the earlier ones. Pretty much we are going to get into the chest to wall handstand position. So walk your hands and feet back towards the wall, and then we're going to create this almost 45-degree angle, maybe a little bit less. And then what we're going to do is same position as the pike push-up. We're going to bend the elbows, let our body come down until our nose touches the ground. Keep our elbows tucked in close to your torso, and then come up, drive through the palms of your hand, tuck your ears in between your shoulders at the top position. And we want to think about having that hollow body hold, so squeezing your core, squeezing your glutes, so that way there's no arching in the lower back. Rep range for this is between 1 to 5 reps for 3 sets. And I'm going to show you what bad form looks like. So bad form is when there's lack of core engagement, there's lack of glute engagement. So you can see there's a banana shape handstand, and then you're coming down, there's that arching, the form doesn't look good. So to fix that, think about doing the hollow body hold. Pull the belly button back towards your spine, squeeze your glutes to create this posterior pelvic tilt position, and then keeping that constant engagement throughout the body is key for a beautiful looking handstand push-up. So once you're comfortable with that, moving on to the next progression is the partial handstand push-up. What is it? Well, it's a half rep of a handstand push-up. So you're going to get into the handstand, and then we're going to lower down just about before our elbows get to 45 degrees. So perhaps 30 to 45 degrees is a great amount, and then we're going to push back up. So we're building our range of motion and getting really comfortable in coming down, pushing back up and holding that balance. Most of the time people will have the strength to be able to do the partial handstand push-up or even the full, but they just lack in the balancing aspect. So that's why the partial is going to help to bridge the gap between that. And over time, as you get more confident with this, then you can move on to the next progression, which is the full handstand push-up, where you drop all the way down until your elbows are at least 90 degrees. Okay, nose touching the ground, and then pushing back up. And what will really help is if you actually spread your grip base something a little bit wider. This is going to reduce the range of motion, which will make it a lot more easier in doing the handstand push-up, because when you're in a wider grip, you only got to come down this amount, whereas if you're in a narrow grip, you're gonna have to come down much more. That range of motion can make it a little more harder for you to perform the handstand push-up. So that is literally it for this video. I hope you do find value in this. If you do, please give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and if you'd like to work with me, head over to the link in my bio where you can look at the application form. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.